Hutch and Simon, I want to start with you because you guys have worked on so many of these Wolverine and X-Men films. At what point was the decision made that this would be kind of an ending film of sorts for this character, and how scary of a prospect was that to even consider?
That really was something that Jim and Hugh authored as much as anything else, growing out of the last one, and not that scary. I don't think, at least not for me. It really was something that felt it longed to be told, and I think it's a credit to Jim's instincts and Hugh's instincts and the collective, I guess, but really led by Jim that that was where the character needed to go. That's where the story needed to go. It was the sort of the part of the journey that had been unfulfilled, I think, for Hugh. So it was something that we were incredibly grateful to be able to do, and something that I think we were all incredibly excited that we were supported in being able to do, and do something that was as bold, and see Jim's vision kind of fully realized this way.
And Simon, no pushback from any suits?
No, the studio was really supportive. I think we've been asked that question the most in this part of the process. And the better story would be that the studio pushed back and that we had to fight them. But the truth is, they really respected Hugh and Jim's vision for the film. I think if we didn't have the movie star and the director pushing for it, it would have been a little bit more complicated. But I think they saw that the movie needed to feel provocative and different and fresh. And one of the ways we would do that would be to end Hugh's tenure as this character. And so they were supportive of it. And yet part of that, candidly, as producers, was that the budget of the film to get an R rating and to do something that bold was not what it had been in the past. And so we made this movie for significantly less than we make the mainline X-Men movies, and less than you made your last Wolverine movie as well.
Jim, you have a great screenwriter, Scott Frank, who did Out of Sight, which is one of my favorite movies of the last 20 years, and so many other great things. Where did this kind of Western feel come from?
Well, the two of us have written together on several movies and on this one as well. And I think the Western feel, it's kind of funny because whenever I watch it, as the press has kind of taken hold of the Western thing, obviously from Shane and many very apt observations about my own taste and the fact I happen to have made a Western but it's also kind of a noir film in the first act. I think the two are very tied. I think noir films and Westerns are kind of like close cousins. And but the vibe, I mean, Scott and I both share, it's why we work together so often. I think we share a real love for old movies and almost a pathological love for old movies, in the sense that we really are trying to steer. We really resist a lot of modern tropes of filmmaking pretty hard, to the point of being pretty stubborn. But that's the way we get along, and it's something that drives us. And it's not so much. We never have time to get into this kind of stuff, but like Westerns aren't guns and horses and cabins and homesteaders. It's the simplicity. It's the Westerns and samurai films, and there's a kind of elegance to getting all the crap of the kind of logistical crap of movies out of them and reducing it to its essence. The struggle to live, the struggle to love, the struggle for freedom. The elements are reduced to their bare minimum. How can you not love a Western when you describe it that way? Most of what people hesitate about when you bring up a Western is they're thinking some kind of Knott's Berry Farm horrible experience of. And that's mostly also television Westerns and kind of, there was a time when the comic book, for those, and I would count myself among them, who feel like, oh God, is there a night on television where I don't see a comic book character? Is there a week in movie releases where I won't see a comic book character? There was a time, 30, 40, 50 years ago, where I'm sure some similarly cantankerous soul was going, can I just turn on television and not see a Western? Can I just go to the movies and not see a Western? And what's happened is the shitty Westerns have disappeared and the great Westerns have stayed. And but still, I think people have a terrible resistance to them because they see them mainly as kind of varmint talk and saloons, and that's all actually what I mean. I'm sure there's a wonderful writer of Bonanza in the audience who I'm going to crush, but it's more what television did to the Western than what John Ford did to the Western. There isn't really much varmint talk in great American Western films. That's something else.
Patrick, prior to this film, Charles Xavier, as played by you, had died on screen 1.5 times, right? Like once, yes, once, maybe. Had you given up hope that you would be asked to play this character again, or were you always like, it's comic books, of course I'm coming back?
Well, actors never give up hope. Yeah, he was obliterated by Jean Grey, and it was very uncomfortable. No, it actually was very uncomfortable. And then we assumed that he must have died when those mechanical monsters at the end of Days of Future Past finally broke into our central control room. There wasn't much hope left there, I think. But when the call came, hey, there's going to be a Wolverine movie and they would like to talk to you about it, I was delighted because every part of this experience, 17 years, has been exciting and stimulating and warm and funny and crazy. And then as word began to filter down from the production that this was going to be a different movie, my interest peaked and peaked and peaked. And then finally I went to talk to James. And a few minutes into the conversation, he learned I hadn't seen a script. And you did a lot of yelling, I remember. I was impressed by the yelling you did. Bring this manuscript! Why hasn't he got a script? And I took it home and I read it. And what excited me most was not the scenes, not the dialogue initially, but it was the stage direction of the location where my first scene took place. Because nothing in the past of X-Men had ever been set for me in such a location.
It's so fun to see these great scenes with you and Hugh, and then it's so wonderful to have this exciting new addition of the character of Laura, played by Dafne Keen, who I've been researching because I'm just so fascinated by her. And I read that she is the child of 2 actors. Her dad is a British actor who's on The Crown, and then her mom is a Spanish actor. So how did you find her?
When Scott and I finished the last pass on the script, we had a very simple breakdown for what we needed for the role of Laura, which was someone between 10 and 12 years old who was an amazing actress, physically capable, bilingual, and of Latino descent. And so then the search went out in South America, Europe, the United States, obviously, everywhere for this kid. You also couldn't have them read the actual script because of the environment we live in of secrecy and worry. You have to invent kind of this odd tangential parallel universe audition piece for them to do, which is really annoying for me. But this tape came in one day from London of a young actress in Spain, in Madrid, whose dad had recorded this little 2-minute iPhone movie with her, and I watched this thing, and all I can say is that I immediately knew there was like 2 things. I knew it was her. She was going to be I knew it was just done, but I also knew the movie would be okay. You know, Scott and I had written a 3-legged stool, essentially, and this guy's an incredible actor. And I made 3 movies, 2 at that point, with Hugh Jackman, and he's an incredible actor. So there's a certain amount of stability and comfort you feel about those 2 legs of the stool. But then this other creature was a complete question mark. And this tape I can't explain it other than to say that it said, I'm here and I can do it.
I can't thank the four of you enough for being here and for making a superhero movie for grown-ups. Congratulations
Welcome.
and well done.